Hello and welcome to another episode of CRT Sound System. We've got episode 69, a monumental episode.
Yo!
Wonderful. It's unfortunately all the fun has been taken out of the sex number and such. Now that Elon
Indeed.
Musk is just like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna slash $69 billion from the federal government's budget. You're just like, oh, not nice. This isn't funny anymore. Let's go back to
This
just
is not a nice
being
number
humorless.
anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to be a proper
We used to be
country.
a real
Yeah.
country. So we're talking about Deadly Premonition. Here with Reese, as always. Reese, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent. I'm really excited to talk about this. And
Oh,
some
yeah.
good news, that Zed you like has come back in style. It's Zed.
Yo, how's it be?
Hi, Zed. Thank you so much for bringing this to us. Thank you for giving this
Yeah.
opportunity to just go big
my wealth of
mode in
knowledge.
so many different directions. I can't keep them all in my head.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a so
I'm ready to get existential.
absolutely, yeah. I suppose what's Deadly Premonition, Zed? Tell us about it.
Deadly Premonition is not at all Twin Peaks, and is you play Detective Agent York, who has been dragged to the boondocks due to these puppies, which are red seed. And through the course of the game, you investigate the peoples, the places, and pretty much the whole town to understand why these red seeds are important. Who killed our main lady, which I feel terrible for. Oh, I think Ashley Ingram. Anyway,
Yeah,
yeah, and uncover the conspiracy that lies at the heart of Rainy Woods. I mean, Greenvale. Greenvale? Yeah.
Greenvale. I think Rainy Woods was the original name for this, wasn't it?
Yeah, it
before.
was. It was. Yeah, for whatever.
Yeah.
Like that was like up until its final release, or up until it was it was made for the PS2 and it was under the name Rainy Woods, and then for whatever reason they had to change a lot of things around. I think because it looked a little too much like Twin Peaks, so they had to pull back. and
Yeah,
redesign
I mean,
things.
for as much of this game is Twin Peaks, it was previously so much more Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Right.
To the point where they were like, okay, maybe we should try and file some of these serial numbers off before we send it out.
I think that's good because you need to have the game has so much of its own like infamous reputation that I think that it wasn't having not played it, I wasn't super aware that this was the Twin Peaks game until fairly recently. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure if I'd played it, that would have changed. But
Yeah, I mean, it's nakedly a Twin Peaks game, and like that's part of the appeal as well. Like it is true, really a love letter to Twin Peaks, and sort of like to a certain extent other stuff. But like, Twin Peaks is definitely the primary thing you're going to be thinking about when coming into this, and part of the reason that I reached out to you, Zed, to get this one done is sort of because David Lynch died recently, and I was, I've been thinking about it, and I was like, I think this would be a good way to exercise my thoughts on David Lynch on the podcast.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Because David Lynch didn't make many video games or many video game soundtracks for that matter, despite
No.
maybe he should have, but yeah. But I played this game when it came out on the Xbox, and it was one of those things. It was cheap, and it had a lot of buzz on the old something awful sub forum of games called YCS. If anybody remembers that from
Your
back in the
console
day.
sucks.
Your console sucks. Yeah,
I remember your console sucks.
Yeah.
Man, something awful.
Yeah, and I just remember pitched battles in the forums between Deadly Premonition and Heavy Rain.
Wow.
And I think culturally, Deadly Premonition has probably lasted a bit more than Heavy Rain.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, certainly.
Most people, what the one thing people remember from Heavy Rain these days is the kid getting hit by a car. It's like, yeah, sure.
The main thing I remember from Heavy Rain is that supercut of John Heavy Rain running through the grocery
Oh,
store,
yeah.
and they fail every single quick time event. So he's just like slamming through plate glass windows. They're like knocking over all the oranges, and the guy just
Going full
laughing the
Blade
whole
Runner.
time.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this game is like, it's hard. Like, as you mentioned, it's a PS2 game, and it plays like a PS2 game, and it looks like a PS2 game.
Oh well,
but
I
there's
mean, I would
just
say its reputation is much worse than that too.
yeah.
Unfairly, I'll say.
No, this game is fucking like, I love this game. I adore this game. It's one of my favorite like just pieces of media, and the fact that it's bad is sort of part of the appeal to a degree. Like, even to the point where like they probably knew it when they were making the game, because like there's mini games you can get to just like get infinite ammo for all your guns, just so you can avoid actually having to deal with the combat.
Infinite ammo SMG. That's all you need for the whole
Yeah,
game.
like you can get that pretty early on, and like yeah, it's it just sort of negates
from a
needing
haunted tunnel.
haunted tunnel. Yeah.
Well, my understanding is this game is can be has an above average number of kind of bugs and various gameplay and visual quirks, and which is made funnier and makes you like the game more because they do not patch those things out from release to release. That's my understanding anyway, is that in the Grimbeard video he was talking about just like, yeah, I played it on the Switch and I had the exact same problems when I was playing on PS2, like a decade ago.
It's because the studio doesn't want to put any more money into it, from last I heard.
Yeah.
Like I remember one of the Retronaut guys, Bob Mackey, right, was talking about how he interviewed Swery, going like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you all about this. And then once he actually met Swery, he was just defeated. And this was like during the director's cut release. Like they're like going like, are you ready to talk about Deadly Premonition? And apparently he was just dead inside because he was not able to do anything he wanted to do for a director's cut.
That
He's
sucks.
like, yeah, no, it's a good game.
Yeah,
go buy it. And then of course the game doesn't even run on PC. So
I've unsuccessfully attempted to run it on my PC several times.
Yeah.
But
I got it to work one summer and never again.
I still have my Xbox copy, so every now and then I get a wild hair to play a bit of it, like, or just drive around the town,
that town is just so like it feels like, I'm pretty sure they just took pictures of a town they were in the Pacific Northwest and then just built the whole town, like made it straight up, because there's weird stuff like a power plant that you never visit, and like all these buildings that like should, if you were to make an actual video game, these should have something to do with them, but they don't.
Yeah.
So it's just but I like it because it's just like, you're just taking a drive around town, and not everything needs to be explored in town.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because it's like, they give you this sort of open world, but it's not necessary in the slightest to the story or anything. It's just you can go fishing, I guess, for random items.
There's some good upgrade items.
Yeah,
you need to be able to drive around Twin Peaks or wherever this is.
Yeah, I suppose there's that aspect to it as well, of sort of like, here's Twin Peaks, go drive around.
I guess for the record, Greenvale.
Greenvale, yeah.
lest the angry commenters rise up.
Yeah. The Deadly Premonition shooters.
That's right.
I think both myself and Zed will say that we're very much on the Deadly Premonition shooter side of this.
No, listen. I'm not fussing with it. I do not wish to draw the ire of you or Conky. I'm looking at this in Steam, and it just shows me your friend Conky reviewed this positively in 2014.
Given that it was the PC version, that's that's something to say. But like,
Mm-hmm.
I think part of sort of loving this game is acknowledging the shittiness of it, and
Yeah.
it is held together by the barest margins. Like this game
No, I
is.
was
Go on, sorry.
yeah, I've been having this discussion with like some uh some of my friends who are younger than me. Like they don't understand the appeal of it's not that they don't understand, but like when I play like a B movie or something like that, that's like you
Mm,
can see the strings. Some part of their brains are like, well, that's not really entertaining, and I feel like the Disney rot or
yeah,
like yeah, public modern films have just taken away that love of like, don't you just love the puppet? I know it's a puppet, but it's
yeah.
a pretty cool puppet.
Like
It's
Yeah.
covered in blood.
acknowledging the
But
artifice of what you're seeing is
yeah.
such a good part of dodgy art.
Yeah, so that's why I do love Deadly Premonition. It's like,
Mm,
yeah, it breaks. Yeah, like the frame rate's awful. Yeah, like it takes forever to get crosstown because it's
yeah.
poorly designed. But you know, it's one of the best damn games I've ever played.
Yeah, it's a delight, and I think that's part of sort of to go back to David Lynch. So it's part of the appeal of him too, is that like
Hmm.
he's a very his style of filmmaking is very much along those lines of like the artifice of it is part of the construction. So like
Yeah.
like I think of the scene in Mulholland Drive in the club, like where he directly tells you like this is all a fucking this is all a sham. There's nothing real. You're just looking at moving images. You're looking at 24 still images a second.
Yeah.
None of this is real. Like it's all art, and it's all artifice. And I think that's sort of why this appeals to me so much, even though it doesn't work on on a lot of levels.
Yeah.
The writing is bad in places. The voice acting is bad because they recorded the whole game first. I think I remember. I don't know. It was something you told
Yes.
me. They recorded the whole game and then they had to retool it because of the lawsuits that they were afraid
Yes.
of.
So they
um,
yeah, I wish I could remember the voice actor's name who plays Agent York.
yeah,
But he yeah, he had to come back. He recounts that he had to come back and it was like so that's why there's different moods or audio I forget what the right
the,
word
the
is.
the room tone is different in different
Yes,
recordings and
yes.
stuff. Yeah,
When he calls himself York versus when yeah, you can notice it when he says York is or when he has sentences which involve his own.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Because to be clear, Reese, they renamed the character to make it a little less
Yeah.
actionable.
Was he Kale Duper, something like that?
No, Francis Young Henning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I only know that because I use that for my stream intro as him introducing himself.
There was
Mhm.
a lot of messing around with this before it actually came out, which is sort of part of why it's so shoddy in places.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really worth digging into the history of this game, just because
Yeah.
it's
I recommend yeah, Super Great Friend for sure. Their playthrough on YouTube and Internet Archive is really worth your time. Uh and then they did the director's cut years later, which is
Mhm.
pretty interesting.
oh excellent.
Actually, my favorite part is he starts it going, "I'm not going to play the whole game all the way through again. I'm just gonna do just play through the main story." Cut to him like episode or like yeah, let's play chapter 30, and he's just doing everything again because he just
Yeah.
loves the game.
I can definitely understand that. And I think that having watched uh some Twin Peaks for this episode, I do think that there is something very video gamey about David Lynch in a kind of roundabout way.
Mm.
Like every shot of Twin Peaks kind of looks like a 1995 point and click adventure game first off. Um but also it leans into the artifice, but I think too is that the magic of Twin Peaks is and David Lynch is this juxtaposition of these different things. And sometimes they
Mm.
have meanings, sometimes it's just creating a vibe, but it's very rarely like telling you how to feel. And if it is telling you how to feel, it's kind of like it's certainly showing, not telling. Like there's only a couple ways you can feel about the mom crying over, Laura Palmer's death. But you that scene has these moments of her looking up at the stairs and the police trying to do their job, and there's not. I don't know, and as it gets weirder as it goes on too, it there's all of these disparate elements, and that they gel together for the scene. You have the haunting soundtrack, and you just like you leave it and you have a reaction, and you've come and you have made the journey towards Twin Peaks more so than it coming towards you. And I feel like that's what makes video games good. You can't have the plot of a video game like along the rigid timeline that you can like a movie or TV show, unless you're like doing some real choices don't matter gameplay. And even then, it's you're not gonna, because you're supposed to be playing it, you're kind of looking for those contact points. So what's so fun about games like, the like dumb example is like Grand Theft Auto. It's fun that you got in your car and you committed this crime, and you led the police a merry chase through Los Santos or whatever, and then that's your little story with whatever soundtrack happened to be on. And I feel like those two experiences are incredibly similar. And I think a lot of visual media either is telling you what to feel or has some kind of like these very specific ideas it wants you to interpret. So
I like the only one I think that does that television break well is Alan Wake, also inspired by Twin Peaks. Because like when you end a chapter, it feels like it cuts to credits and then like a song plays, like as if it's a mini series, and I feel that captures that television feeling better than any other game. But that's very few and far between.
Yeah, Remedy stuff I think is good like that.
Too good. You got to put them down.
Yeah, absolutely. I really like Quantum Break. Honestly, I played that in 2023. I thought
you're one of those people.
Yeah, I thought Quantum Break was so cool.
We're both Quantum Break defenders here. I think me a little less so than Tom, but still.
I genuinely loved it. I was like, this is one of the best games I've played in years. And I watched like the whole little mini series they did for it. Shout outs to fucking Lance Reddick being a baller in that. It's like, it's just. Go on, sorry.
It was, it's not even an issue. Kind of like what we're talking about. It's kind of creates a fond memory of it now. Is that those moments had like some issues, like loading to do my download speed or whatever, and so I had to like fight to get the story. That was like a kind of like an episode of 24 essentially. With the show I love, and so it having to struggle with that, it felt very inelegant in the game. But like I don't know, it's charming. It's doing stuff. Anyways, we can't. Quantum Break one day will have its time, but no.
Indeed. I think we'll jump into the first block of music. So that first track that came in, the music was by, let me double check. So the vocals by Bro Y, which is a very funny name. Then we have the actual music was by Hiromi Mizutani. So up until about yesterday, I thought they were all just credited to Riyou Kinugasa, Takuya Koboyashi, and Hiromi Mizutani. It seems that most of the tracks are actually just done by Takuya Kobayashi, who I could find literally nothing about other than the fact that he did these games.
Guys like in the woods somewhere making like really good jazz music like, that no one hears.
Yeah, it's this, and even on like Discogs, where I was able to find more detailed credits, like this is the only thing that's on his Discogs. But Hiromi Mizutani is a little bit more prolific. Looking through his VGMDB, he's got a lot of anime stuff. But the things that jump out to me is Guilty Gear Overture, the the Muso Guilty Gear game that they released for some reason, which is a good game, but not a weird choice to make a sequel to Guilty Gear and have it be a third-person character action game. Then the other thing that jumped out to me was Koihime Muso, which has a fighting game that I really enjoy. But the main thing of that is it's a gender-swapped retelling of Romance of the Three Kingdoms that's also an eroge. And yeah,
okay,
so that's the whole thing.
right.
So there's all of the characters in Romance of the Three Kingdoms have been turned into anime waifus. And yeah, it's very strange.
The loud typing you're about to hear is not me searching for that.
Yeah, I'm biting my tongue here.
I've never played the actual game, but I will say that the fighting game that is based on it is called Koihime Enbu, is really fucking cool. It's one of my favorite little poverty fighters.
That's a hell of a name.
Yeah.
I've never heard that one before.
I love a good poverty fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the all these tracks from the next block are by Takuya Kobayashi. So we've got FBI Special Agent, York and Zack, Thomas Maclaine, George Woodman, and Raincoat Killer. Sorry, not Rainbow Killer. cut off abruptly. Was that even the soundtrack is engineered badly.
Yeah.
And also like incomplete, annoyingly. Like there's like 3 official releases of this, and none of them have all the tracks, which we'll get to later when we're playing the last block of tracks, which is all stuff that's like fans had to go in and rip it to actually get the music out of the game. But also possibly because those tracks are maybe slightly copyright infringing. Let's say. Certainly one of them is anyway.
As long as no one's looking, that's always, that's the winning ploy.
Yeah.
Well, good thing we're off Spotify now, so we're less likely to get in trouble for copyright
That's true,
infringement by playing them.
But yeah, we were talking a lot in the break just about the characters and just like I think that's sort of one of the appeals of this game is just like the cast of characters, and again, sort of to sort of tie it back to Twin Peaks is sort of like all of these sort of very quirky characters, and all of them have like different connections to the victim, and all of them are sort of like all plausibly sort of could have done it, and all have their reasons and everything. It's it's
a veritable palette of human emotion and connections that you have.
And despite that, there are some incredibly obvious signs as to who actually did it. They might as well literally have hung a neon sign in front of their house to say it.
Yeah.
One thing I suppose is probably worth mentioning as well is the whole sort of the York and Zack thing. We were talking about how you sort of like the opening of the game is this funny little sort of very much an homage to the intro to Silent Hill, or sorry, Silent Hill for sure. I think there's definitely some of that to it, but also Twin Peaks, where like where Cooper's driving in and he's talking to Diane, and I think at the time before, because this is before The Return came out, there was often speculation in the sort of fandom of Twin Peaks of whether Diane was actually a real person. Because you only ever sort of heard her referred to in third person by Dale Cooper, so there was some speculation, but is Diane a real person? It turns out in The Return that she is a real person, played by Laura Dern she's great in that show. But
hell
I think she also like shows up in the cutting room floor, like the not Fire Walk With Me, but that second, the companion to Fire Walk With Me. It's all the deleted stuff. And she's referenced off screen by maybe 2 people. I can't remember.
But to go on with that, then like you've got York is talking to Zack.
Yes.
And again, like that, it's not clear whether Zack is real, whether Zack is something else entirely, and there's an interesting sort of twist to what the whole Zack thing is. But part of that is him talking about the psychosexual relationship of Tom and Jerry.
It's so I love
it's so
how
goofy.
that,
like it's literally the first scene of the game.
It's so goofy, and yet it's so integral to the theme of the core of the game. It's so beautifully snuck in. Like it's just such a curveball, and you're like, that's weird, and then you just don't think about it until it's
It's perfect for the video game analog of Twin Peaks, because you if you had something similar, something more grounded, I feel like that would, like, even separating how it would be a more obvious copy of Twin Peaks. I feel like it's funnier that he's just using this vessel to just talk about whatever he wants about DVD menu bonuses and stuff like that. When Diane was a bit more of a, like, a diary of his life, I just feel like, I went to the Lamplighter Inn and I paid $6.81 for a tuna sandwich and the first mention of pie, and just be like, stop if you have a chance.
I got a whistle. I really love this whistle, Diane.
It's a nice little sort of twist in the game, and in that open world stuff you do get when you're driving around, he'll just sort of randomly start talking, like Reese said, about DVD special menus, special features, or like Godzilla movies or Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. God knows what else. There's there's so many different movies he talks about. It's
at some point, it's like it just makes me happy to have like a film nerd make a video game, I guess, that isn't Kojima.
Yeah. I think Kojima is the obvious sort of parallel to that and the other side of things.
I gotta put Stanley Kubrick in my game. Nah, son. Tell me about Attack of the Killer Tomato.
Kojima's untouchable, but there's something a bit, maybe a little more charming about something like this, where rather than you having to call Sigint to hear about movies, your main character is just being like, "What's up? Let's talk Jaws 2 or whatever." Like
to himself so in a car.
Yeah.
I hate to be that nerd, but it's paramedic who tells you about movies.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm so
sorry.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm sorry. I'm worse pony.
But I think that's sort of like a funny sort of like thing to talk about. Swery, Swery 65, the creator, the auteur for this, I suppose let's call him. Like, I think very much in the mold of a Kojima or even like a Suda51, of having just a very distinct style and always sort of putting himself in the game, not like as a character, as a person, but like his interests, the shit he's into is like, this is all in very much in front of you, and like he's like, come and look at the shit I like.
Yeah, like the two moments you like, there is a I forget if it's a bar or a gas station that's called the Swery 65, and then he shows up in a collectible card. Like those are like the two, like him in the media.
It's and I like the notion more. Like I don't buy fully into auteur theory that much, but like the idea of like Swery as this sort of idiot savant auteur more than like
what?
And I don't mean
idiot.
I don't mean that in any sort of disparaging way. I love Swery 65 stuff. I think his whole sensibility really speaks to me. But that there is a sort of shoddiness to this, that it's, the game does not work like objectively.
Oh, it's all hot glued together. Absolutely.
But like
the puppet is falling apart, but we gotta put on a show.
But you see this man who's like, I have a story I want to tell you, and I want to show you a bunch of shit that I like. And I want to include a shooting mini game for no reason, even though the shooting is dog shit. I want you to fish for upgrades with a slot,
and even
slot mechanic.
Yeah. Also, someone threw some documents in the water, so you have to fish at one point.
Yeah, you have to fish it. And so like there's a. Go on, sorry.
No, I was just gonna ask if this was Swery's magnum opus, Deadly Premontion.
I would argue The Missing is probably a lot better playing wise and story wise. And I've been playing The Good Life, and boy, if you thought there was nothing happening for a long amount of time in Deadly Premonition, welcome to the English Highlands, where there's no public transit and you have to walk from one town to the other.
Well,
and sure, you could turn into a cat, but you're still walking.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess to me, I thought the only other competitor would be Dark Dreams Don't Die, but I'm not familiar with The Missing.
I would say that one's actually pretty solid. Yeah, like Missing's more gameplay focused, but if you want just wackiness, Dark Dreams is what you want.
So sorry, that was a derailing question, Tom. What were you saying?
No, it's fine. The only thing I was going to mention is just like one of the things that this game reminds me so much of is the Yakuza series, just in terms of like the amount of goofy shit you can do while sort of ostensibly having shit that you actually have to do in like a short period of time. It's like, you've got a murder to solve, but I'm going to go to the bar and play darts for 6 days.
It's a Shenmue alike. I think we can all agree.
I think and I suppose what we're talking about with that as well is and it's something that Kojima stole from him for Metal Gear Solid 5. Is one of the things you do to pass time is smoking.
Yes.
You go into your little mind palace where two creepy angels live, and you just smoke there.
Yep.
That rips. That's so good.
You can also just sleep, and like, there's no reason to sleep either. You can just There's just ways to pass the time,
and you also, if you don't bathe, you get super stinky, and people won't talk to you.
You get a stinky agent negative. You lose money. It's incredible.
That's really funny.
It's an incredible simulation of life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You have to shave and
I mean, all of this is like wonderful to sort of engage with and hear about, because it's very easy to, I think, to point to this game and just be like Twin Peaks clone, but like this is all so fucking crazy, right? That's like crazy in a way that Twin Peaks is not trying to be, really.
Like, I think if you tried to be like just copy Twin Peaks, you couldn't come up with this game. Like, you would, because I don't think you'd get that sort of sense of weirdness that, like, I think Swery has in the same way that David Lynch does. That, like, he sort of digs into the weirdness of existence in a way.
Well, why this is such a successful Twin Peaks emulation is because he's leaning into the artifice of gaming the same way that Twin Peaks is leaning into the artifice of TV, right? So much of Twin Peaks is David Lynch operating within the kind of like soapy 1-hour dramas of the 80s. Like, I used to watch this within the same brain space. I used to watch Twin Peaks in the same brain space I'd watch like Falcon Crest, which is a show that could not be any more different. But it is still like very, very melodramatic, and sort of like the way that the music works is very dreamy and strange, but also it's like it can work as a TV orchestral score. And so much of the different plots in Twin Peaks are these like very soapy, like romantic subplots. And it's just like there's just like 1,000 characters that are in love with somebody else that has an abusive boyfriend or something like that. And that's because that's what network TV thrived on at the time. Deadly Premonition is going crazy with its game mechanics in the same way that a game that really wants to engage with just actual gameplay. Like, Deadly Premonition could very easily have been like a visual novel, but they were like, you know what, even though the combat kind of sucks, we got to put it in there, right? And I think for as bad as the combat is, it makes the game seem better. Just because like you have that, having all that gamey stuff in it makes it Deadly Premonition. It makes it pop. And I would say the same is true about the music, where it's not aping Twin Peaks, but it's very melodramatic, sweeping themes that I think are that work well within its kind of soundtrack. That are not trying to ape Twin Peaks, really. Other than just being
tracks,
crazy.
I would say, that are very much like trying to sort of do a little bit of the free jazz wailing of some of the tracks, I think, is there. But no, I agree overall. Like, it's not just locked in on the Twin Peaks aspects of it. Yeah.
I also like to comment on that, like the music, not just the music is good, but like the soundscape as well. I was we were talking, or I was mentioning like listening to that first one, Francis York Morgan, and it's just the theme of driving around, and like I was mentioning I could hear the engine of a car. I could hear turning on my blinker, keeping it on, and having my windshield wiper going as Agent York is telling me about whatever. And like I can also hear the car stop, him pulling the emergency brake, the car revving down, and him getting out going, "Is there something here you want to check out, Zach?" like that's all burned in my brain because like it's all melodic in a way.
Yeah.
Like it all works in tandem to each other. Yeah, like it's just got a great soundscape on top of the music.
From my understanding, anyways, because I'm I'm on the outside looking in for a lot of this, is that it seems like
Oh, you're peeking in.
yes, exactly. The sorry, I lost my train of thought. The my understanding is it's the soundtrack, not the soundtrack, but the sound effects were kind of farmed to a different studio that didn't really have any other influence at all. So the sound effects are kind of like very jarringly different and generic compared to everything else. And I heard reference to, I don't know if it's true, the squirrels making monkey noises, things like that. So like it feels almost like a shoddy rush job from somebody who didn't care. And that and to me that just makes me want to play it more because that sounds like something compelling. I'm gonna try to get it to work on PC. I bought it because it's on sale on Steam for $1.
I'm hoping that decompiler that's been going around like makes
maybe
that'll be solid.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would be definitely one I would love to see properly ported to something that you could play. I mean, you can play it on Switch. Was that Switch release ever released on the other consoles, or was it Switch only?
It's from what I remember, it's Switch only.
That's disappointing.
I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt Xbox. I doubt Microsoft or Sony are chomping at the bit to get that on their consoles.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, you could they had it the first time, and it was a budget title on that, so but I mean, if you have a Switch, I think it's like a tenner. It's not that expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it's absolutely has been ported anywhere else. It seems like the effort was made for Deadly Premonition to do these releases, and nobody is ever going to put money into it ever again.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah.
For the price of a club sandwich, you too can own Deadly Premonition.
Yeah, so
I've purchased Deadly Premonition for Switch. It was on sale for $4.99. I avoided the hentai puzzle package, which was quite inexpensive, Diane.
There's too many hentai Picross games. I got lost for
I think it's crazy the number of extremely softcore hentai games on the Switch now is insane. Anyway, sorry. Thank you for indulging my Cooper bit.
Look, Doug Bowser said yes to the hentai games.
Turned on the hentai fire hose, and we've all been sprayed.
We gotta get a new fan base in here. Get them.
That's like 15%. It'd just be like that. If they turned off the hentai fire hose now, that would destroy their.
It's all over.
Yeah. All right, so we'll jump into the next block of tracks. Again, 4 tracks composed by Takuya Koboyashi, the Mystery Man, Red Tree, Emergency, Comic Relief, and Life is Beautiful.
that little at the end every time.
Like, so I don't know how to phrase it. Like something I moan about a lot in my life is like the way people like treat like wearing your influences on your sleeve as a negative, and like songs like that, which are clear, like that's like it's just the Mario's music. Like there's no way around it. Like, but the fact that he sort of took that and sort of made it this jaunty little theme, and like threw in kazoos. Like, who the fuck puts kazoos into the song? Like, come on.
The kazoos are so good, and they make you wait for them because like it's just it's a repetitive loop, not repetitive in a bad way, but like it's just a loop, and then you're like, kazoos. Where do these kazoos come from?
And just like broadly with this game of just like, here's a bunch of shit I like, and here's, like I'm going to feel some kind of way about it, and you're going to feel some kind of way about it by the end too. And like that's the journey we're taking together in this piece of art. Like, like that's the buy-in, is like there's a bunch of shit we all love that there's a common sort of connection to, and like we're gonna think about it together and sort of explore why we like it. And that's part of the fucking, that's why I like this, that's why I do this podcast, is like I want to connect with people over shit that we like together, and not sort of hide the fact that we like it.
That's so human, right?
Yeah,
like, that is just to bond.
Like, I want to walk into a theater and not have somebody pretend to me like that they've never seen another movie, and that like this all just came to them. Like I want, like, and it's part of that sort of what we talk about with that artifice of movie making, like that, like our artifice of making art in general, of like, you are the sum of your influences. And like I realize that a lot of people sort of tend to have to fucking hide the fact that they like Swery has essentially lied about the fact that this has anything to do with Twin Peaks, because he doesn't want to be fucking sued for it, and that sucks. Like, I want Swery to be able to come out and say, I love Twin Peaks. I want everybody who plays this game to know how much I fucking love Twin Peaks. And like it sucks that he has to say, no, this has nothing to do with Twin Peaks, because he doesn't want to get sued by fucking Fox or whatever.
ABC.
Whoever fucking owns it.
It's what's crazy to me is that it is actually quite Lynchian to you just open a door and step into an empty room, and there's a Super Mario Brothers theme, and you just got to deal with it, or Super Mario World theme. Sorry, it actively fucked with me, because until this podcast, I didn't realize that it wasn't a YouTuber playing the Super Mario Brothers theme over like discussions of the game. I was like, "Oh, this is actually it. This is in it." Okay. Now I have to wrestle with that inside, and that just draws me closer to the product.
Are all themes Super Mario Brothers?
Racing Unit is going to fucking blow your mind. So when we get to it, because
I don't know what to do.
You're literally going to lose your mind, and I can't wait to hear it. Go on. Sorry.
Well, so I was just trying to remember what we were talking during the break. Like just the York is also just a beautiful character. Of
really,
like how,
one of the great characters of video games.
Yeah, like the comic relief track, like it just sends me back to some of the best skits in the best scenes and skits in the game. Like where they're sitting at a diner after like a long day, and they're like, "Man, you must have seen some pretty messed up stuff as a detective, huh, York?" And he's like, "Yeah, I remember this one guy who would just use people's skulls as bowls and eat out of them." And like he just goes and describes like this horrific like Ed Gein like alike, and just everyone, all the officers around him just go like, I don't want to eat more, man. That's too much, man. That's too heavy.
Yeah. And I think that there's like the whole sort of trope of like the big city cop comes to a small town, Where like normally, and it is in Twin Peaks where like everybody is sort of so excited to find out what real cops do because the sheriffs in this shitty town don't do anything. So like it's funny that like when he comes along and he's telling his war stories, everybody's just like completely like, I don't want to hear this shit.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, here, listen to my stories. It's great.
And just like how like they'll be just such a serious, not as serious, as serious as it can be. And then the comic relief theme just kicks in as someone is like, well, time to get jovial for a little bit because we don't want to end this scene on a bummer. So someone tell a joke and we're out.
That's great.
Thanks, comic relief theme. Life is beautiful.
Yeah. I suppose we should probably talk about the mini games in a bit more detail as well, because it's going to come up a little bit later. But like, I mentioned sort of going and playing darts for 6 days. Like that's one of the things you can do is just like, yeah, you can go to a bar and hang out and just play darts, or you can go to a convenience store and play. What's the mini game in that? You just move around crates.
You just have to. Yeah, you have to move around crates, and at the end of that quest chain, you get the best melee weapon in the game, which is a guitar.
Oh yeah.
But, so the kicker is you can't give that guitar back to its original owner, but you lose it. So you keep that guitar until just before the end of the game. It's also called Gregoth, I think.
That's and when we get to that music is so incongruous with being in a convenience store.
Yeah, and I love that. I love those guys too because they just tell you ghost stories in this convenience store when you buy like the right pamphlet or map.
Yeah,
and it's just
the owner of the convenience store is just this weird rockabilly guy.
Yeah, and you can tell he's kind of a bad dad because he's never home. Like the kids are like kind of latchkey kids.
Yeah,
and like his wife is like having to do most of the work.
Yeah,
because he's just checked out.
I suppose that's probably something worth mentioning as well, is that the life sim aspects of it that we've mentioned before. Like all of the characters have their own schedules. They're pretty fixed, but like
you learn a lot about them.
You can follow a character for a whole day. It's really, really cool. Like you can do that, and you can see what they do.
And they do.
Go on, sorry.
On every day they do something new too.
Yeah.
Well, most of them anyway.
Yeah, most of the main characters have like interesting things to do that they do on specific days, I suppose.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you can only do Emily's cooking quests on rainy days. And like on certain days as well, like Fridays or something. I can't remember the specific day, but it's really hard to finish her quests because she's busy, man. She's she doesn't get a lot of downtime. Yeah.
But it's funny following like George or Thomas around as well, just to see their obvious tells.
Look, Thomas.
Not to spoil too much.
They do Good on Thomas.
Yeah. I suppose the less said about Thomas, it is.
Come to your own conclusions, users.
Yeah. Delightful game, but it definitely of its time in a lot of ways, and we'll skirt around that. I think we'll jump into the next block anyway, because it's just some more sort of incidental tracks and some more stuff that relates to the plot as well. So the first 3 tracks are by Takuya Kobayashi again. We've got Underground, Big Red Kaysen, and Forrest Kaysen. Then we have a track music by Misako Yamashita and vocals by Riyou Kinugasa called Stiletto Heels.
behind the door leaves, they should see us. I am seeing haze from the night, mighty space. I dream of thee like prisoner. You are conscious of my innocence. Everyone's just written out to know. Life is but a dream.
We were talking a lot about sort of Forrest there, and I suppose without spoiling things too much, it is very funny. Again, one of these things that the game is just like gives you so many obvious clues that he's not who he seems to be.
Yeah, like it's like one of the things he carries is like like the thing he's holding is like the thing that you came to town to look for, and you're like, okay, man, what's your deal?
I wonder if this man with all the red seeds has anything to do with the red seeds that I keep finding in murder victims across the entire country that I've been tracking for years. Yeah. And yeah, very much one of the Silent Hillist boss fights in the game, where just like he transforms and you just have to fight this weird grotesque of him.
It's amazing. Like I could see it's not a great sequence. Like some part of me feels like that's really that part that whole, and it was trying to placate the we need combat and action in this game.
And again, as we've mentioned, it's dog shit combat in this game. So
yeah, I mean, you're just shooting you're just doing target practice with a balloon bouncing around. Like
it's not great. If you do play this game, immediately go and get the infinite machine guns so that you do not have to deal with the combat.
Which one of the very first things
feels like such a discouraging way to recommend this game, by like being like, look, here the first thing you got to do is not play the fucking game. Like do whatever you can.
Do the combat.
Do not play this game. But I think because the game has so many other systems that are sort of charming and everything, that like the fact that the combat is a bit dodgy is which is weird, like that it sort of surfaces the combat to you first. It's like one of the first things you have to do in this game is a very annoying combat sequence where you fight the sort of you get the first track was the underworld, which is like there is another world in this very similar to the one that is in Silent Hill specifically. I think is probably the biggest one, where like the combat all takes place there. There's no actual combat, I think, that takes place in the real world except for like the boss fights. To my knowledge,
after 12, like at a certain point, after 12, and I think it has to be raining as well. I can't remember for certain. You do fight giant dogs. Giant ghost dogs will start coming out of the ground.
Okay.
And it's pretty wild.
I don't know if I've seen that, actually. That's interesting.
Yeah, you got to stay out real late.
Yeah, I suppose, you wouldn't be...
Because, part of your brain's like, well, obviously, York should sleep early.
Yeah, and I don't want to get that stinky agent's bonus.
Yeah,
yeah, no, but like, it's like you fight these weird shades of and monsters that are uh, ostensibly human. I don't know if they're sort of related to specific people or anything like that, but they all move erratically, and the game doesn't have very good aiming.
Yeah, there is a theoretical like the town the town of Greenvale itself has been is a logging town. So there's back and forth between people and that. So I assume like some of those people are just loggers or that have lost their lives working there, and uh there was also like apparently intense confrontation, so I assume maybe some of the other people like the protesters as well, but yeah, like Greenvale is a town of a lot of dark secrets as if manipulated so.
Yeah, and again, very much in that sort of mold. Alan Wake does it, as we mentioned. Silent Hill does it. Although this was before Alan Wake, but it's not unique, I suppose, is the point.
Spooky towns. I'm there.
Spooky town in the Pacific Northwest. Absolutely, that's where I'm gonna fucking be.
Like, come on, gang, we're going to the Mystery Machine.
Yeah, like that's one of the best ways to get me to in on something is be like, is it a spooky town in the Pacific Northwest? Yes. Okay, fucking give me that shit.
I guess that was the X-Files, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean the X-Files did it. Fucking town. Supernatural does it. Like, it's a trope for a reason, and I'm always there for that shit. It is weird because I mentioned to Reese last night when we talked a little bit about it, but like I watched this show. I watched Twin Peaks when I was way too young to watch Twin Peaks. Like like in Ireland we got TV much later than everything. We got shows would be finished before we'd get them, but like I do remember specifically Twin Peaks being like a thing people talked about before it came, as like, oh, it's this hit US TV show, and like it's a big deal that this is coming to Irish TV. It's something I do remember, and I remember watching the first episode and being fucking terrified. And like that image of Laura Palmer's body in the body bag being like seared in my brain, and then later that image of Bob, that one specific shot of Bob sort of at the angle where he's like crouching down, and like obviously that is a shot that is a sort of a found accidental shot. Like famously, that like David Lynch spotted it and was like, "Oh, I'm going to use this because it's like it's just an unintentionally creepy shot," and that sort of that shot like lived in my brain as like the concept of scary to me is that shot, like
that's
like
interesting.
Yeah, and like that lived with me until like I watched the show in my 20s finally when it showed up on Netflix, and that was sort of how I exercised it. And then I realized that like so much shit that I love sort of drew from that very specific concept of how I sort of conceived of things being scary. And like the music as well, like I couldn't listen to the music from the show, like even like the Moby had a remix of the Twin Peaks theme in a song called "Go," and I couldn't even listen to that because
Moby
it sort of
has a remix.
Yeah, Moby sampled the Twin Peaks theme, and it's a song called "Go."
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of his early hits before Play got really really big for him. But like even that song, like if it was on the radio, and it was quite a bit, I just had to switch the channel, like because it's subsumed me with terror in a way that I did not realize it could happen. And I was like 6 or 7 at the time. Like I should not have watched that show. And like now I realize, this show is like the show wasn't as scary as it was meant to be, but like, it wasn't as scary as it was to me. But like, that's the inner workings of a 6-year-old for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing I wanted to comment on was like how you found Laura's the reveal of her body to be frightening.
Yeah.
Whereas in retrospect, there's just a real beauty to that shot. Like a tragic beauty to that shot, which just sort of is Laura Palmer's character through the entirety of that show. It's tragic. She's so beautiful, but isn't it just there's a tragedy here? No matter how like how beautiful it is.
Yeah.
And that goes back to like Blue Velvet, that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's a theme that Lynch obviously likes to explore, because
yeah,
it's not just in this, it's in a lot of his movies. But that
I j-
specific image, definitely, like, and even just like the sort of the visual metaphor of them, then, like, because you see her for a brief moment and then her face is covered, and like that visual metaphor
mhm.
is obviously very striking, given
She's
everything.
dead,
Yeah, but not even just like
wrapped in
the
plastic.
show is about how, like, these towns and the people sort of cover over the imperfection of
Yeah,
people, like that, because everybody sort of created a version of Laura in their own mind.
yeah.
um yeah, not to get too deep in the weeds on Twin Peaks, I suppose, because we,
No,
we could- you
get
could
get
talk
deep
about
in
the
the weeds.
symbolism of Twin Peaks for days without running out of
Hmm.
we're all running out of steam. But yeah, it's just it's something that affected me greatly. So, uh, and then, like, the amount of things then that I loved growing up that drew from Twin Peaks, and like, Japanese video games and Japanese media in general has a love for Twin
Yeah,
Peaks, that I think is probably greater than anything in the West. But, like, even stuff
yes.
like, my favorite Zelda games growing up were like Majora's Mask and a link sorry that the Link's Awakening,
Hmm.
Hmm.
both of whom were very influenced by Lynch, and very Lynchian in their sort of tone. Um, and, like, yeah, just it's so funny to sort of to have that formative experience sort of shape how I saw other media, even though I never watched the whole series until I was 20, or in my
Right.
20s, I should say. Like, like, that's sort of, it's so striking how art can do that to you, like, with just a couple
Yeah,
of images, and that sort of stick with you that way, and that's really cool.
yeah.
I
Um,
It's
had a
mhm.
slightly inverse experience. Like when I watched it as a kid, like what stuck with me was the emotionality of the characters, and but it was all sort of like appropriate to the scenarios to some degree.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
I and kind of rewatching recently, I realized is like how much kind of like inexplicable is the wrong word, but the tone is much darker than I remember it. I thought I remember Twin Peaks having it was a murder mystery that dealt with very serious themes and had this very dreamy kind of like surreal landscape. But I guess I remembered a little bit more of the Dale Cooper silliness than the Bob of it
Yeah,
all, and so it definitely impressed upon me. It's sort of like I was not as much, and I don't think I'm as much of a David head as some people out there. Although I do love him, he's a
yeah,
genius,
yeah.
unqualified. Um,
Love you, big guy, wherever you are.
exactly. But for me, it's sort of like the horror that I drew from David Lynch was more from Blue Velvet and Lost
Mm,
Highway,
Yeah,
which are so fucking existentially disquieting.
yeah.
And so that I thought Twin Peaks was different from that, and sort of like I wasn't influenced by those moods until later, and then cinematically in movies and stuff, I would just be like, oh, this is Lynchian. We're getting Lynch mode here. So it's
hmm,
it's 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 fascinating what sticks in our child
Yeah,
minds.
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's yeah, for me it's just like I never really I never had Lynch show up as I was growing up for
Mm.
whatever reason. And so yeah, I had terrible taste. What like I'm watching trauma films instead of a Lynch. But
I think
yeah,
there's
like
value to
yeah.
both. And I think
Yeah.
David Lynch would agree with that too.
So yeah,
Trash and
like I
art are
yeah.
not. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Oh, yeah, no problem. It's just like Deadly Premonition was my first step into that world, right? Or representation of Lynch something inspired by Lynch so directly that
Mm.
I knew consciously going in because like it was the giant bomb playthrough that like they kept saying lynch this, lynch that, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I honestly didn't watch I did watch Twin Peaks maybe around that same time. I gave the first 2 episodes a try, and there's that sequence where the mom cries at the end of the episode or the pilot episode, and my volume was a little was a little too loud, and so I heard a knock at my door, and my mom's like, "Is everything all right in there?" And it's like, "Yeah, mom, I'm just watching Twin Peaks." It's like, "Oh, okay." But I never really finished I finished season 1, but I never came back around until recently, where we've been in this chat I run, we've been watching Twin Peaks every Thursday for like a year now, and just really watching it and appreciating it with friends, and also hating the lull in second season and then till it gets good again. It's a really fascinating journey, and I just see so many threads there that I'm like, oh, this is what inspired this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
Wow, no, it's a wholesale ripoff. But lovingly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. It's also yeah.
Yeah, the thing you mentioned about sort of or sorry, Reese, you were mentioning about how sort of we all sort of bring our own experiences to the horror of David Lynch, because like he doesn't make horror like in like it's so weird that like nothing he's made is explicitly a horror, but
know,
he's
the
sort of
story is pretty scary.
I would say the closest to being an actual horror he's ever made is probably Firewalk with Me.
Yes,
but like he manages to sort of to tap into sort of these primal fears that people have that are like not just like physical fears of like death and things like that, but more existential fears.
Yeah.
You know, and like I often say that like the scariest movie I've ever watched is Mulholland Drive. And it's not a scary movie, but like every frame of that movie is just soaked with dread, because
it's
like,
uncomfortable.
So like the only movie, like how can you make a movie that features a sex scene between 2 of the most beautiful women in the world and have that not be like, that is a scare, like that there's so much sadness to that scene, because you're like, and there's so much dread in it, because you're like, because you know that something is going to happen when this ends, like you know, because the way the movie is set that up as a like climax, like you know that something horrifying is going to happen, and like it does, and it's not horrifying in any way that would sort of you would consider to be like a traditional horror, but like just seeing this woman fucking completely break down as a human after that happens, like that transition is just like, is so scary to me, because it's real in a way that like that an axe, a raincoat guy and an axe could never be.
Yeah,
but just like the idea that your brain could not, or that your mind could sort of could treat you that way is just like, you know, that is so much more terrifying to me as a concept. You know, and
it's a good lesson of Canadian actors never go to America. It's a bad time. It's a bad time.
I mean, I think it's. I think you're right, and I think I haven't seen Firewalk with Me, but I would consider, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, you know, Blue Velvet. They're not horror movies, except I think of them in the same breath that I think of other horror movies.
Yeah.
And it is the way that he plays with the emotionality of stuff. Where he invites, rather than having a raincoat man with an axe, he just shows you these scenes that are so weird but grounded in the same way that you can just be like, you wouldn't believe what the fuck my neighbor does. Like, and
check out this red tree in his backyard.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of, yeah, exactly. And to me, that's what makes him so successful as an artist. And a bit of a segue, but I'll try to connect it because they're connected in my mind. I rewatched Pulp Fiction recently, and I was watching it, and I was like, you know what? This is a great movie that has totally lost every aspect of its cool.
Yeah. Because it's
partially
been so stripped mined for parts
Yeah.
at this point.
it's so strip mined for parts, and too, like Quentin Tarantino's success of being able to kind of like pull these different songs and things. Like now all everybody does is kind of like listen
Yeah.
to music and watch movies, and it's all there and available. Quentin Tarantino sucks so much more now than he used to.
He's such a garbage person, but you know.
And I feel like that to me is a very similar feeling of trying to analyze Pulp Fiction, which is so much of the vibes, is similar to me trying to analyze David Lynch's work, where it's not, you're not like, wow, isn't Marcellus's or Samuel Jackson's character, whatever his name is, isn't he having like a really moving arc? It's like no, it's pretty lunkheaded crime stuff. It was just awesome at the time.
Just fucking rules.
And it's and I feel like it's the you know, the malleability of art, right? And I think David Lynch understood that process better than anybody, and was also able to execute it within his own work, where he like kind of gives you a lot to chew on. You know, he knows what it's like to live a life, and sort of like has you react to it and kind of like generate your own energy from watching his works. And so something like Mulholland Drive, which is not a horror movie, be scarier than 99% of horror movies that I put on. Like, I won't put on Mulholland Drive. It's too fucking heavy. Like,
it's probably my favorite movie of all time, and I've seen it twice. But I think about it constantly. Like, it's one of those movies that just like, whenever the concept of movies come up, I think about Mulholland Drive. In some fashion. Like, it's just there in my brain now. It lives there. And like, there's so few times I will actually want to watch that movie because it is such a drag. But like,
100%. And it's like, I'll watch, like, I'll be just like, oh, it's been a while, time for a Saw marathon. And like, I'll be, you know, like,
I'll watch,
I'm watching, I paused halfway through because I was getting sleepy, but I was in the middle of Smile, and I was feeling like scared. I was like, oh no, who's gonna smile at her next? You know, but it's different. You're doing the horror movie thing as opposed to doing the David Lynch thing.
Yeah.
All right. I think with that we should move on to the next block of tracks, because this episode is rounding out to be quite long, actually, which is fine. But I'm just, you know,
I mean, that's what we wanted, right? To be able to just
I feel like a lot of our episodes are going well over 2 hours lately, which is great for me. I like doing the long episodes, but.
Yeah, when you're contemplating the existence of everything, you know, it goes on for a little longer than usual.
Yeah, it's like, when are these fuckers going to talk about fucking Deadly Premonition again?
Never. We left it at the door.
But yeah, we're going to listen to Racing Idiot, Emily's Funky Salsa Beats, Mezger C600, and Milk Barn. So these are all unofficial names, I suppose it's worth noting, because these are the tracks, some of the tracks that were ripped from the game disc that were not actually officially released. And you may hear why when we listen to the very first track.
This has been built up, so
it's going to be built up. I'm really looking forward to your reaction to this one, Reese. So let's go.
studiato, testato, sperimentato.
I'm probably going to clip it out and maybe put it up on the Blue Sky or something. But just for your initial reaction to Racing Idiot. But I just want you to tell the listeners what went through your mind when you heard that.
I mean, I was honestly like, it had been built up, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be some song everybody knows, but because I was a little weirdo, I didn't get into. And then we got American Idiot of Greenvale Idiot, and I've lost my fucking mind. It's you can just fucking do anything you want in art, and it's so great, dog.
Everything's fair game if you're willing to do it. Like,
yeah, you just put American Idiot. American Idiot is the racing missions theme. I don't even remember what I said. I think I said this is illegal.
Yeah, it was very much just like, no way, dude. You can't do this. Like, in a protective way. Like, you're like reaching back on, like, you can't do this.
I'm certainly not precious about Green Day. It's just like this is what we're doing with Green Day. This is what you do. I don't know. I love it. I have had I've gone from curiosity to fascination to appreciation thanks to this podcast. And I'm looking forward to checking it out. I purchased during recording, I purchased the 1 and 2 pack on Steam because it was $5 total. Deadly Premonition. It's very funny to me that Deadly Premonition is just $1 on the computer.
No excuses.
Worth every penny.
Viewers at home.
That being the driving theme, I suppose, is where I'm mentioning the other tracks from there, except for Milk Barn, are also when you get into people's cars, you get different music. So like George has a specific theme. Emily has Emily's funky salsa beats. The Doctor is the Mezger C600. I think Thomas has a theme. There's a few characters that have themes in their different cars, and their different cars all have different handling and everything, which is very funny considering again how dog shit the fucking driving in this game is. It's really bad. Like it's not a fun driving game. So like the fact that they put the effort in to make all these different characters have different handling cars and is kind of is so indicative of the love of this game that is there. There's like we couldn't get shooting or driving to work, but by God, we're going to fucking do it anyway. You gotta respect that.
Look, there's not a lot of other games where I can turn on my windshield wipers, so it gets a pass.
Absolutely,
and my blinkers. I gotta turn my hazard on. I don't know. I might stop at any time.
Alton just posted a clip from Deadly Premonition. I think pretty unaware that we were recording this right now.
Shout out to Alton. Where did he post that?
Yeah, he just
live.
I'll put the clip so you can just have a live reaction to this thing Alton just posted. But shout out to it.
Good. Okay, lovely. Let's see.
Wow.
So it's just a scene of Francis York Morgan pouring his milk into the coffee to get his daily. That's how he gets his daily predictions for what's going to happen. But it has been edited.
It has been edited, so it says "Jork your peanuts."
I am proud of him.
Incredible.
That's good. That's really good.
I'll put a link to that in the show notes. You'll have to see that.
You have to see it to believe.
There's nothing more compelling in a podcast than something reacting to something visual. Oh God. And I suppose the other track we should mention then just from that is the Milk Barn track, which is convenience store theme, which is the Rockabilly convenience store.
Oh man.
Like it's again so incongruous. But
just I love the absolute daftness of how he's just like talking to a Fed about like these things, and like he reads so counterculture, but like that leads into his character too, of like how he's just kind of a bad dad,
yeah,
and a bad partner, and he's just kind of a mess of a human being trying to be a young man, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love his style so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Can't
have
say
to
no.
love a character like this.
Mm-hmm.
um all right, so I think we'll sort of finish up. So any
Yeah.
final thoughts on Deadly Premonition, on Twin Peaks, the career of David Lynch, R.I.P. King? Anything else you want to? Any other business?
I don't know. I think
yeah.
I think David Lynch would want me to let everybody know that love is real. And that's
Love
my
is
final
real.
statement.
Fix your hearts or die.
Yeah.
Fix your hearts or die.
Mm-hmm.
Indeed.
My takeaway from reviewing Lynch's work since his passing, going through Twin Peaks is, and also just relating to Deadly Premonition as well, is just like make your art.
Yeah,
like
make it.
If it's weird and crazy, like don't worry about it. As long as it exists in the world, that is the most beautiful gift you can give to the world right now. I know it's kind of really hard to make art right now due to everything else, but ultimately just, try to put that pen to paper or like type out that story. Just try, from one artist to another. You got this. I believe in you.
Absolutely. I think that's and also I think Swery would also agree with that as a
absolutely.
I think that's his approach to art too. Like
the Drink King himself.
The Drink King, yeah. Pro follow on Instagram, I would say, if you use Instagram.
He used to follow me on the old Hell site.
He followed a lot of people. I think he followed me, and he was one of those people who would just follow a lot of random people, which that was fun back in those days when Twitter wasn't a complete garbage fire.
Yeah.
But anyway, anyway, I love talking about Deadly Premonition. I love playing it. I kind of want to go back and play it myself now. I do have the PC version. I've had it since it came out. I've successfully ran it for maybe an hour, I think, before something went wrong. But that was about 10 years ago at this stage now, so maybe it's worth the retrying with the 2025 patches.
The Deadly Premonition technology has leaped ahead light years.
Yeah.
It's that like Simpsons bit where they're like trying to solve Montgomery Burns. It's like it's in the future and he's got all those stab wounds in his back and it's like we're up to 14. We're slowly getting this running again.
Yeah. Have you played Deadly Premonition 2, Zed?
God, no.
No, I haven't yet
seen
either.
a lot of it.
Yeah, it didn't.
A lot of it, and I don't like it.
It didn't appeal to me from what I saw, and the people I trust who liked the first game didn't seem to love it that much. So,
is that the one where he can skateboard? Is that the?
Yes.
That's okay.
Yeah. It's one of those weird things where like by making a game better in like a technical sense, it loses something.
So, it ain't better in a technical sense.
Well, I mean, I suppose the gameplay is a little bit smoother, I think, from my understanding, but it loses some charm in the process then. And I think I've heard some troubling stuff about the writing as well. But yeah, let's close it out. Zed, have you anything you want to plug at the moment?
I guess follow me on Blue Sky, Zombaholic. Yeah, at Zombaholic. Check me out on YouTube, Zeddy's Roundup. I make music videos. I do little animations.
Fun little videos for sure. Yeah, definitely check out that.
Look, there's a Jamiroquai one in there. It's really good. And no, that's about it.
Yeah, excellent.
Go
listen to Zed's previous episode on Outer Wilds, which was a fun episode.
Yeah.
It was
I wasn't hungover, I swear.
Reese, I believe you finally have an update on existential warfare for our listeners. So
I did another one. I had Conky on and we discussed 3D printing and kind of general the philosophy behind DIY and makerism, and why Conky will be arrested by the ATF tomorrow, that sort of thing. So go check.
If you're in the ATF, don't listen to the podcast.
You're not allowed. This podcast is for non-law enforcement personnel only.
It's all about tobacco. It's none of the other stuff. That's right.
So check out that new episode of Existential Warfare. Check out those other ones. If you like them, give me $1,300 on Ko-Fi.
Hell yeah!
Go give Reese a load of money. And if you have any spare money, you can go and give it to us on patreon.com/CRT Sound System. You can get yourself some higher bitrate downloads and some bonus episodes there. It also won't be defeated by Spotify, so you can still find the Patreon feed on Spotify, even though the rest of the pod has been nuked. I've updated everything on it, but we're now on RSS.com. Yeah. And you can join us in the Discord. Come and hang out. We'll talk about whatever you want. We'll talk about Green Day's American Idiot for hours if you want. There's a nice. It's a quiet Discord, as I've said before, but there's a nice little group of people in there, and we have our chats. And if you want to come on the show and tell, if you're like, they should do an Undertale episode. Why aren't they doing an Undertale episode? Come on the show. That's the rule. The rule now is if you want us to do an episode, you come on the show.
You got to make us.
I look forward to the Undertale episode.
We've been threatening it for so long. I don't think it's ever going to actually happen. So, nobody's going to have the balls to come up and be like, okay, I want you to do Undertale.
Yeah,
I'll make it a Patreon goal.
Honestly, there's no demand for an Undertale episode. Really, it's just us being like, we'll never do it. No, you can't make us. Oh, it'd be so scary and terrible if we did an Undertale episode. Oh goodness.
I mean, I would genuinely like to do an Undertale episode, but I've never played the game and I never will. But I do like the soundtrack.
Stuck before.
Yeah.
Got to read the manga before you.
Yep.
All right, so the last track is just called Greenvale with vocals, and it's by Riyou Kinugasa and Misako Yamashita. Thank you, everyone. I love you. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
I hear the voice in Greenvale. I hear the voice in Greenvale. Night and day. You and I kiss in pain, hide and seek, hide and seek. Beyond the sense of love and reflection, we were always wandering. Beyond the time of darkness, we're the wind so low, feeling